A woman named Sarah wanted to buy a new car. She went to a car dealership to look for a car she could afford. But after a few minutes, she walked out. She was shocked. A simple family car now had a very high price. Sarah could not believe it. Her story shows a big problem for many people in America. Today, buying a new car is very expensive. The average price for a new vehicle in the United States is now almost $49,000. This is a very large increase. In just 10 years, the price has gone up by 51%. This means car prices have increased much more than most other things. It is very hard to find an affordable new car. An affordable car is one that costs about $25,000 or less. Today, these cheaper cars have almost disappeared from the market. At the same time, very expensive cars are selling more than ever. Cars that cost more than $60,000 are very popular, and car companies are making a lot of money from them. This is not a simple story about rising costs. It happened because of choices made by American car companies over many years. These choices changed what kind of cars they build. This story will explain how we got here. It answers the question, why are American cars so expensive today? 2. The good old days. Many years ago, after the Second World War, was a golden age for American cars. The main idea for companies like Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler was simple: build cars for everyone. These three companies, called the Big Three, controlled almost 90% of the car market in America. They competed with each other, but their main goal was to sell a large number of cars. They believed that every American family should be able to own a car. General Motors had a famous plan to offer a car for every purse and purpose. This meant there were basic, affordable models and expensive luxury models. During this time, owning a car was a key part of the American dream. Even the workers who built the cars in the factories could afford to buy one. This successful period did not last forever. In the 1970s, the first big problems arrived. There were oil crises, which meant that countries in the Middle East sold less oil to America. This made gas very expensive and sometimes hard to find. American drivers who were used to cheap gas were shocked. The popular American cars at the time were very big and heavy, with powerful engines. They were comfortable but used a lot of gasoline. Suddenly, people needed to save money on fuel. They started looking for smaller, more efficient cars. This was a new challenge for the Big Three, who were not prepared. Japanese car companies saw this as a perfect opportunity. Companies like Toyota and Honda started to sell their cars in the United States. These cars were different from American cars. They were small, light, and very fuel efficient. Models like the Toyota Corolla and the Honda Civic became very popular. They were exactly what American buyers needed. But they were not just cheap. Japanese companies also had a different way of making cars. They focused on quality and making sure their cars were very reliable and did not break down. They used new ideas in their factories to build better cars for less money. Many Americans bought these cars, and it was a serious warning for the American car industry. 3. The Big Change. In the 1990s, American car companies discovered a new way to make a lot of money. They began to sell more sport utility vehicles, known as SUVs. These cars were marketed as safe, strong vehicles for families. The secret to their success was simple. SUVs were built on the same platforms as pickup trucks, which were cheap to make. But the companies sold them for much higher prices, like premium family cars. The profit from one SUV was often 2 or 3 times higher than the profit from a normal sedan. Ford's Explorer was a perfect example of this. Soon, every major American company was focused on selling these profitable vehicles. The goal was changing. It was becoming more important to make high profits than to sell a high number of cars. Then, in 2008, a very serious problem happened. A global financial crisis nearly destroyed the American car industry. Big companies like General Motors and Chrysler almost went out of business and had to declare bankruptcy. To stop this from happening, the government gave them a bailout of about $80 billion. However, this money came with a strict new rule. The government told the companies that their main goal must be profit. They had to show they could be strong and viable businesses. Selling cars for low prices to gain market share was no longer the plan. This near-death experience created a new culture in Detroit. Companies became very afraid of losing money. The lesson they learned was to build more profitable cars, not just better cars. This was a big change that set the stage for higher prices. 4. Making money, not cars. After 2008, American car companies had a new main goal. Their plan was simple: make more profit from each car sold. This was more important than selling a large number of cars. They were now in the business of making money, not just cars for everyone. The most visible part of this new plan was the end of small, affordable cars. In 2018, Ford announced it would stop selling most of its sedans in North America. Cars like the Ford Focus, Fiesta, and Fusion were gone. General Motors soon did the same thing and stopped making cars like the Chevrolet Cruze. These cars were popular, but they had thin profit margins. This means the companies did not make much money from each one they sold. In contrast, they could make 2 or 3 times more profit from selling one SUV than from selling a sedan. Company leaders said they could not lose billions of dollars on small cars anymore. They decided to only build vehicles that made big profits, like large trucks and SUVs. This big change was also because of pressure from Wall Street. Investors who own parts of the car companies wanted to see profits grow all the time. They expected good financial news every 3 months. To keep investors happy, car companies had to focus on high-margin vehicles. They started to use their money to buy back their own stock. This action pushes the stock price up and makes investors happy. However, it also meant there was less money to invest in developing new, cheaper cars for the mass market. The result of this strategy was amazing for the companies. Ford and General Motors started to report record profits. They were making more money than ever, even though they were selling fewer vehicles. But this success created a big problem for normal buyers. New car prices went up very fast. The average monthly payment for a car loan grew to over $700. This was too expensive for many families. The market for affordable cars, those under $25,000, almost completely disappeared. The American car industry was now focused on making expensive vehicles for rich customers. They were making a lot of money, but they were no longer making cars for everyone. 5. A new company from China. While American car companies focused on expensive trucks and SUVs, a big change was happening in another country. In China, car companies were learning how to build excellent cars for much less money. They were creating a new way to think about making cars. A company called BYD is a perfect example. This Chinese company can build its cars for about 30% less money than American or European companies. This means they can sell their cars at a much lower price. For example, one of their cars, the BYD Seagull, costs only about $12,000 in China. Even at this low price, it is a good quality car with modern features. People in the industry were shocked that a car could be so good and so cheap. This was very different from the expensive cars in America. The biggest reason for this is speed. Chinese companies have learned to work incredibly fast. They see a car like a computer. It can be updated and improved all the time. This is a big difference from the old way of making cars. For a traditional American company, it takes a long time to make a new car. From the first idea to the final car in a dealership, it takes about 5 years. This is because they have a slow, careful process with many steps. But Chinese companies like BYD work much faster. They can take a new car from an idea to production in only 1.6 years. This is less than 2 years. It is more than 3 times faster than companies in Detroit. This amazing speed means they can always use the newest ideas and technology. They can also listen to customers and make changes quickly. Working this fast saves a lot of time and money. This helps them keep prices low. This new, faster way of making cars is a serious challenge for the American car industry. 6. Why Chinese cars are cheaper. Chinese car companies have a very different way of thinking about making and selling cars. This different approach is a key reason they can make cars for a lower price. They do not follow the same business rules as many companies in America or Europe. Their main goals are to be fast, to grow their company, and to have control over how their cars are made. One big difference is how they see the car itself. They think of a car as a large computer on wheels. For them, the software inside the car is just as important as the engine. This way of thinking allows them to make changes very quickly. They can send updates to the car's software over the internet, which is called an over-the-air update. This is like updating an app on your phone. So, even after someone buys the car, it can get new features and improve over time. Another important idea for these companies is to grow first and worry about making a lot of money later. Chinese companies want to sell many cars and become very big in the world market. They are happy to make less profit on each car if it helps them sell more and grow faster. For example, the company BYD hired a huge number of new workers in just a few months. They invest their money in growth, not just in making profits for today. They believe that big profits will come in the future after they become a top company. Finally, a company like BYD has a lot of control because it makes almost all of its own parts. About 75% of the parts in a BYD car are made inside BYD's own factories. This is called vertical integration. Most American car companies buy parts from hundreds of different suppliers. By making its own parts, BYD can carefully control the costs. This is a major reason its cars are cheaper. This control also gives BYD speed. If they want to change a part or use a new technology, they do not have to negotiate or wait for another company. They can make the change themselves almost immediately. These three things, thinking of cars as software, focusing on growth, and making their own parts, work together. They allow Chinese companies to build good, modern cars much faster and for less money than anyone else. 7. A hard choice for America. The American government is worried about cheap and well-made Chinese cars. To stop them from entering the country, it has put a very large tax on them. This tax is called a tariff. It makes it almost impossible to sell Chinese cars in the United States. This protection helps American car companies for a short time, but it is not a good long-term solution. Chinese companies have a smart plan to get around this tax. They are now planning to build new car factories in Mexico, America's neighbor. Cars built in Mexico can be sold in America without the big tariff. This means affordable Chinese cars could soon be available to American buyers, coming from just across the border. For American companies to truly compete, they need to make huge changes. This is not a small adjustment. Experts call it a quantum change. It means they must completely change the way they build cars and run their businesses. First, they must learn to be much faster. It takes American companies about 5 years to design and build a new car. Chinese companies can do it in less than 2 years. American companies must close this speed gap to keep up. Second, they need to focus more on software. Modern cars are like computers on wheels. The software inside is now just as important as the engine or the seats. They need to update it regularly, just like a phone. Finally, American companies must change how they think about money. For many years, they have focused on making big profits every 3 months for Wall Street investors. Now, they must think about long-term success. This might mean making less profit today to build a stronger, more competitive company for the future. It is a very hard choice for America's car industry. 8. What happens next? The American car industry is at a very important point. It has to choose its future, and there are 2 main paths it can take. One path leads to a very different industry, while the other requires a lot of hard work and change. The first path is to continue what they are doing now. Companies can keep building very big and expensive trucks and SUVs. They make a lot of profit from these cars, so this path is easy in the short term. But this plan is only for rich buyers. Most normal people cannot pay $70,000 or more for a new vehicle. If companies choose this path, they will sell cars to a smaller and smaller group of people. The main market for normal families will be lost. Companies from other countries will sell affordable cars to these people instead. This is a dangerous path. We saw this happen before with other American industries. For example, American companies used to make most of the world's televisions. But they did not change when companies from Asia started making better, cheaper TVs. Soon, the American TV industry became very small and not very important. The same thing happened with the steel industry. The car industry could follow this same path if it is not careful. The second path is to make a big change. American companies can learn to build great, affordable cars again. This means they must learn new ways to design and build cars faster and for less money. They need to focus on what most buyers need: a good, safe car that does not cost too much. This path is hard. It means taking risks and maybe making less profit for a short time to build a stronger future. Detroit has what it needs to make this change. The big car companies have a lot of money. They have talented engineers and designers. They have famous brand names that people have trusted for many years. But having money and talent is not enough. The leaders of these companies need to be brave. They must decide to invest in new ideas for the long term, not just in making high profits today. The choice they make will affect everyone. It will decide if Americans can still buy affordable new cars made in their own country. The future of the family car depends on the courage of these companies. What do you think American car companies should do to be successful in the future?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.